You are 32 years old, and you own the world. You are lying on a bed of Persian silk in a palace in Babylon, beneath a canopy stitched with thread of gold, and the air is thick with myrrh and a heat that would melt a lesser man. A fever has stolen your voice. Around your bed lean your generals, the same men who would burn a city to the ground at a single word from you, and they are not weeping, they are waiting. Each one is already measuring behind his eyes how large a piece of your $5 trillion empire he can tear away the instant the light leaves you. Your only heir is not yet born. He sleeps inside the body of your wife, Roxana. You command 3 continents. You possess more gold than any human being has ever touched, and you cannot lift your own hand. You are Alexander, and to understand how the master of the world came to lie helpless among wolves wearing the faces of friends, we must go back to the very beginning.
The night you come into the world, a temple is burning. Far across the sea, in the city of Ephesus, the temple of Artemis, one of the 7 wonders of the world, a forest of marble columns men spent 120 years raising, goes up in flame and collapses into ash. The priests will say the goddess was too busy attending your birth to guard her own house. This is the first thing the world will ever tell you about yourself, that you matter more than a wonder of the world. You are not yet 1 hour old, and already your life is written in fire. You are born in Pella, in the cold and rust-colored kingdom of Macedonia, a land of black pine forests and iron winters where bears come down from the mountains and the wolves are not a metaphor. This is no soft Greek city of philosophers and perfume. Here the kings drink their wine unwatered, a thing the polished Greeks of the south consider the habit of barbarians, and they settle their arguments with blades drawn across the banquet table by the smoking light of pitch torches. Into this hard, golden world you are delivered, and 2 people stand over your cradle, and both of them will mark you forever. Your father is Philip, the king. He is a one-eyed warlord who has dragged a backward mountain kingdom into the front rank of the world by inventing a new way to wage war. He drinks, he conquers, he takes wives the way other men take cups of wine, and when he looks at you, he sees both a son and a rival. Your mother is Olympias, and she is something else entirely. She is a priestess of a wild and secret cult, a woman who keeps tamed serpents coiled in her bed, who moves through the palace trailing mystery like incense. And she whispers a thing into your ear again and again from the time you can first understand words, that Philip is not truly your father, that your true blood is divine, that the God himself came to her, and that you are descended on both sides from heroes, from mighty Heracles and from Achilles, the greatest warrior who ever lived. You grow up believing this not as a pretty story, but as plain fact, the way you believe the sun is hot. You are not a prince, you are a god wearing the body of a boy, and the throne of Macedonia is merely the first and smallest thing the world owes you.
But a golden cradle in this house is also a trap, and you learn it early. Your father's court is a nest of knives. There are other claimants to the throne. Your own cousin, Amyntas, who was once king as an infant before Philip took the crown. There are powerful nobles, men like Attalus, whose families circle the throne waiting for their moment. And the day will come at a wedding feast when Attalus rises with wine in his hand and prays aloud that Philip might now father a legitimate heir. And in that single word, you understand that your own blood, the blood of Olympias the foreigner, can be erased with a sentence. You hurl your cup at him. Your father rises, sword in hand, to strike you down for the insult, and, drunk, stumbles and falls before he reaches you. You stand over him, and you say it cold. Here is the man preparing to cross from Europe into Asia, and he cannot cross from one couch to another. That is the first lesson the cradle teaches you about power. It is not given. It is never simply given. A crown is only ever borrowed from the men who want it for themselves, and the moment you cannot defend it, it belongs to someone else. You are a boy who owns the future of the world, and you have already learned that the people closest to your throne are the ones most ready to take it. You do not yet know that within a few short years, your father will fall to a blade at another wedding, struck down by his own bodyguard as the crowds cheer. You do not yet know that at 20 years old, the entire weight of his ambition and every enemy he ever made will land on your shoulders in a single afternoon. But the wolves are already circling, and the throne is about to become yours.
You are 20 years old, and in a single afternoon, everything your father built becomes yours. Philip falls at a wedding, his own daughters, struck down by a blade in the hand of one of his own guards in front of a crowd that had gathered to celebrate him. One moment he is the master of Greece, crossing the threshold of the theater in a white cloak with no bodyguard, godlike, untouchable. The next, he is on the ground, and you are king. The crown does not descend gently onto your head. It is thrown at you, still warm, in a kingdom suddenly full of men who think a 20-year-old cannot hold it. And so begins your trial. Not the trial of climbing, you are already at the top. The trial of keeping it. 3 enemies come for you at once, and they come from 3 directions. The first front is inside your own house, your own blood. There is your cousin, Amintas, who wore the crown of Macedonia as an infant before your father took it, a living, breathing alternative throne around whom any ambitious noble could rally. There is Attalus, the very man who once toasted your erasure at that wedding feast, now commanding an army across the sea with a grudge against your name. A boy king who hesitates here is already finished. You do not hesitate. Within weeks, every rival claimant, every poisoned root that could grow into a challenge for your throne is quietly and permanently removed from the board. Cousin, rival, anyone whose existence is a question mark over your crown, gone. By the end of it, you stand alone at the center of your dynasty, and there is no one left in Macedonia who can imagine the throne without you on it. The lesson your father's court taught you in the cradle, you have now taught the whole kingdom. The crown belongs to the one willing to defend it without flinching.
The second front is the world beyond your mountains. When the news spreads that Philip is gone and a beardless boy now holds Macedonia, all of Greece exhales in relief. The great cities, proud Athens, ancient Thebes, believe the leash is off. Thebes rises in open revolt, declaring your power broken. They are wrong, and you teach them with a speed that will echo for 1,000 years. You appear before the walls of Thebes faster than rumor can travel, your army covering ground at a pace no force on earth can match. And when the city refuses to yield, you make of it an example so total that Greece will not breathe wrong for a generation. The legendary city of Thebes, the city of myth and heroes, is wiped from the map. Its houses pulled down stone by stone, its people scattered to the wind. You leave a single house standing, that of the poet Pindar, dead a century, to show the world this is not madness, but judgment. The message travels faster than any messenger. Cross Alexander, and your city becomes a field. The third front is the heaviest, and it has no army. It is the weight of the name. You are the son of Philip, the man who conquered Greece, and every man in your court silently measures you against him. To merely hold what he won is to be remembered as nothing. Philip's boy, the placeholder. You feel it like a hand on your throat. And you remember a day from your childhood when you were 12 and a magnificent black warhorse named Persepolis was brought to your father, a beast so wild no rider could mount him.
While grown men were thrown to the dirt, you alone saw the truth. The horse was terrified of his own shadow. You turned his face into the sun, so the shadow fell behind him, and you rode him at a gallop. And your father wept and kissed your head, and said the words that have burned in you ever since. My son, seek out a kingdom worthy of yourself. Macedonia is too small for you. Too small, that is your answer to the weight of the name. You will not hold Greece, you will swallow the world.
You are 22 years old. You are about to march against the Persian Empire, the largest, richest empire the world has ever known, a power that controls nearly half of all human beings alive. And you do it broke. Your treasury is empty. You are in debt. You cross into Asia carrying barely enough silver to feed your men for a single month. You set out to seize a $5 trillion fortune with the budget of a man who cannot pay his own rent. When you reach the edge of Europe, at the narrow water called the Hellespont, you stand at the prow of your ship in full armor, and as the keel touches the shore of Asia, you hurl your spear so that it stands quivering in the sand. Asia, you declare, I claim as mine, won by the spear, a gift from no one. It is the gesture of a man who believes the world is his inheritance, and he has merely come to collect it. And the world seems to agree with you. In the ancient city of Gordium, there is a wagon bound to a post with a knot so impossibly tangled that no one has loosened it in living memory. The prophecy is plain. Whoever unties the Gordian knot will rule all of Asia. Kings and priests have tried for centuries and failed. You step up to it. You study the snarl of cords for a moment, and then, instead of picking at it like every careful man before you, you draw your sword and split it in half with a single stroke. The knot is undone. The rules you have decided do not apply to you. They never did. Now comes the decision that defines what kind of master of the world you will be. You could be a raider, sweep in, seize the gold, and sail home a hero. Plenty of your generals want exactly that. Instead, at the moment of choosing, you choose the harder, hungrier path. Not to plunder Persia, but to become its king. To take the throne, the crown, the empire entire, and rule it as your own. It is not a strategy, it is an appetite. You have decided that nothing less than everything will ever be enough for Alexander. The threats at home are silenced. Greece kneels. Your name no longer lives in your father's shadow. You stand on the edge of the richest world that has ever existed, spear in the sand, and you are ready to leave your mark on it forever. And the gold, mountains of it, more than your Greek mind can even picture, is waiting just beyond the next horizon.
Most kings leave behind a single monument, a tomb, a wall, a temple with their name carved over the door. Your signature on the world is something no one before you has ever attempted. You do not build one monument, you take the entire planet and you write your name across it. By the time you are done, you will have founded more than 70 cities, stretching from the shores of Egypt to the mountains of what men now call Afghanistan. And in a hunger that borders on the divine, you will name nearly all of them after yourself. Alexandria, 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 like a signature scrawled again and again across 3 continents. One you will not name for yourself. One you will name Bucephala, for the great black horse of your boyhood, when at last he falls. A city raised in stone for a horse, because you can, because the world is yours to spend. But before the gold can be yours, the world must be taken, and it does not come cheap. Consider the island city of Tyre, which sits offshore behind walls rising straight out of the sea, and which laughs at you from the water and refuses to open its gates. No army has ever broken it. So you do something insane.
You decide to build land where there is only sea. Your engineers drive your men to construct a causeway, a road of stone and timber and rubble, hundreds of meters long, straight across the open water, while arrows and fire rain down on them from the walls. For 7 months, you push the sea back with your bare hands, until the impregnable island is no longer an island at all, and the gates that laughed at you are torn open. That is what your signature costs. That is the kind of will it takes to own the world. And then comes the moment the gold breaks mathematics, when the great Persian king Darius runs from you on the field, abandoning even his own mother, his wife, and his daughters, whom you capture and, to the astonishment of all, treat as honored royalty. The road to the heart of the empire lies open. You march into Persepolis, the ceremonial capital, the jewel of the King of Kings. And when you throw open the treasury vaults, you do not find coins. You find bars of gold and silver, stacked from the floor to the ceiling, in chamber after chamber after chamber. The total is recorded at 120,000 talents.
Let that number become real. That is roughly 3,000 tons of precious metal. It is so absurdly, grotesquely heavy that no ordinary cart can move it. You are forced to halt your entire army and summon 20,000 mules and 3,000 camels from across the empire to act as nothing more than your armored truck convoy. In the buying power of today, you have just seized the equivalent of $5 trillion in a single afternoon from a single building. You are, in that instant, richer than Musk and Bezos and Arnault standing together. You have not earned a fortune. You have swallowed the treasury of an empire that ruled nearly half of all the human beings alive on Earth. Now look at the world this fortune buys you, and use all 5 of your senses, because this is the life you now live. You see it first. Above the golden throne of the Persian kings hangs the legendary golden vine, a sculpted grapevine of solid gold spreading across the ceiling, and hanging from it clusters of grapes carved from pure emeralds, from garnets, from rubies the size of quail's eggs. When you first sit upon the throne of Darius, your feet swing in the air. The King of Kings was a tall man, and you are of ordinary height. And so a Persian servant rushes forward and shoves the sacred golden table of the Persian god beneath your feet, so that the master of the world need not let his sandals dangle. A god's altar reduced to your footstool. You touch a world without limit. When you make camp, you do not sleep on the ground. Your engineers raise a royal tent held aloft by masts 15 meters high, gilded in pure gold and studded with jewels, and beneath its canopy stand 100 banquet couches of solid silver, their mattresses stuffed with goose down. To reach you, a man must first pass 500 elite guards called the Apple Bearers, named for the apple of solid gold that weights the base of each of their spears. And the curtains of your tent are woven from the legendary purple of Tyre. Understand what that purple is: a dye wrung from the rotting glands of sea snails, 10,000 snails crushed to color a single cloak. A pigment so rare it was worth its own weight in silver. You have lined an entire tent with it. It is as if you wallpapered a palace in solid silver and thought nothing of it. Now live one ordinary day at the summit of the world. You wake, and you do not wash in water like a common man. Water is for the poor. You are bathed in a tub of solid silver, so heavy it takes 12 servants merely to lift and empty it. And you are anointed not with soap, but with Egyptian oils, with myrrh and with saffron, to this day the most expensive spice on earth, threads of it worth more by weight than gold. Your engineer, Aristobulus, swears that your very skin gives off a natural perfume so strong that your bed linens breathe out the scent of pure spice to anyone who enters the room. You smell quite literally like wealth.
Then you eat, and here is where the numbers should make you dizzy. A single ordinary dinner in your tent is recorded at 10,000 drachmas. A common Greek laborer working from sunrise to sundown earns 1 drachma a day, which means that every single time you sit down to supper with your generals, you burn through 30 years of a working man's entire life in one evening, in one meal. And you do not eat soldiers' rations. You taste fresh sea fish in the heart of a baking desert because relays of riders on fast horses haul tanks of salt water across the empire to keep the fish alive until the moment it meets your knife. The cost of a meal could buy a man a farm. You spend it on the freshness of a fish. And you hear the world rearranged around you, 500 spears grounding in unison as you pass, the soft tread of eunuchs, the silence of men who have learned never to speak unless you wish it. This is the man you have become, the man for whom money has ceased to mean anything at all. When your friend Persepolis asks you for a dowry to marry off his daughter, you hand him 50 talents, a fortune of millions. Frightened, he protests that 10 would be more than enough for him to receive. And you answer him with the line that defines you. Enough for you to take, but not enough for Alexander to give.
And then comes the peak, the summit of your whole golden life. You walk a road no Greek has ever walked, across the burning sands to the remote oracle in the Egyptian desert at Siwa, and there the priest greets you not as a king, not as a conqueror, but as the son of a god, confirming with his own mouth the very thing your mother Olympias whispered into your cradle. And when you return and seat yourself upon the throne of the King of Kings beneath that vine of gold and emeralds, with 3 continents bowing toward you and the treasury of the world stacked behind you in towers of bullion, you are no longer Philip's son, no longer even merely a king. You are the living proof that a man can become a god while still breathing. It is the highest a human being has ever stood. Which is exactly why from this golden summit there is nowhere left to go but down, and though you cannot feel it yet, the men kneeling closest to your throne have already begun to look at you with something colder than love. Here is the secret no one tells you about owning the world. The more of it you hold, the smaller your cage becomes. You sleep every night with 2 things tucked beneath your linen pillow: a dagger sharpened, and a worn copy of the Iliad, annotated in the hand of your old tutor Aristotle. One is the book of the hero you believe you were born to be. The other is the blade you keep because even now, even as a living god, you do not truly sleep. Because some part of you, the part raised in your father's nest of knives, knows that the closest hand is always the most dangerous one. You have conquered 3 continents, and you still cannot close your eyes without a weapon under your head. The wine does not help. In your court, the great drinking feasts run for days without pause, unwatered and fortified, and the wine is both your engine and your poison. It loosens the tongues of the men around you, and you have begun to learn what they truly think. Because something has changed in you, and they hate it.
Out in conquered Persia, you have started to dress as the Persians dress, to keep the customs of the kings you replaced. And worst of all, you have begun to ask your proud Macedonian generals to bow low before you in the Persian way, to press their faces toward the floor as men do before a god. To a Macedonian who fights beside his king, this is unbearable. They refuse. And the refusal feeds the suspicion already growing in you like a fever. So you begin to cut away the men who built you. You come to believe that Philotas, son of Parmenio, your father's oldest companion, the general who anchored your every battle line, has known of a plot against you and said nothing. Philotas is condemned. And then, in the cold logic of a frightened king, you reason that the father will never forgive the loss of the son. And so Parmenio, too, the most loyal sword you ever owned, an old man who never once failed you, is quietly removed, far away, before the news can even reach him. The man who served your family for 40 years, erased on the arithmetic of your fear. Then comes the night that breaks something in you that will never mend. At a banquet, drowned in wine, your foster brother, Cletus, the man who once saved your very life on the battlefield, who cut down an enemy already raising a blade behind your head, rises and accuses you to your face of becoming soft, foreign, a Persian in a Greek body, of forgetting the men who bled for you. The room goes quiet. The wine and the fury take you, and before any man can stop it, you seize a spear, and the friend who saved your life is gone, struck down by your own hand in the middle of your own feast.
And then the wine clears. You understand what you have done. You drag the spear toward yourself, ready to follow him before they wrestle it away. And you shut yourself inside your tent for 3 days and 3 nights, the master of the world, the son of Zeus, the owner of 5 trillion in gold, lying in the dark, taking no food, no drink, no comfort, weeping for the friend you destroyed, because no one in your whole golden empire was permitted to tell you no. That is the cage. You were born never having to ask anyone for anything. And that is precisely why, on the day you most need a single honest voice to pull you back from the edge, there will be no one left who dares to use it. Every man at your table now wants something from you, or fears you, or both. Your wives are alliances, your generals are calculations. The only soul you have ever truly let inside the cage is Hephaestion, your closest companion since boyhood, the one man who loves you as a man and not as a god. And the day is coming very soon when even he will be taken from you. And when that happens, there will be nothing left to hold the world together, not even you. The end does not begin with your own body. It begins with his. In the city of Ecbatana, Hephaestion, the one soul inside your cage, the companion of your whole life, is taken by a sudden fever, and the master of the world comes undone. You order your own hair cut short in mourning. You command the manes and tails of every horse in the army shorn bare. The physician who failed to save him is put to the post. And then you spend on his memory a sum that defies reason, 10,000 talents, $2 billion in today's gold, to raise a funeral pyre 60 meters high, a ziggurat of cedar and palm wood, crowned with golden lions and the gilded prows of warships and banners of Tyrian purple, a monument taller than a 20-story tower, built for one purpose only, to be set ablaze and burned to ash in a single night. That is the measure of your grief.
You set $2 billion on fire because the world no longer held the one thing you could not buy. And then the fever comes for you. You are in Babylon, 32 years old, master of 3 continents and 5 trillion in gold, and a heat no medicine can break settles into your body. Day by day your voice fades, and so we return to where we began, to that silk bed beneath the canopy of gold, the air heavy with myrrh, your generals leaning close, no longer your friends, but circling heirs. They put to you the only question that now matters. To whom do you leave your empire? You have a wife, Roxana, carrying a child not yet born. You have no other heir. With the last breath in you, you give them a single word.
Kratistos, to the strongest. And the light leaves you. You die exactly where every man dreams of dying, at the absolute summit, undefeated, the richest and most powerful human being who has ever drawn breath, with the whole known world still kneeling at your feet. But here is the cruelty of building an empire with no one to inherit it. Your fall is not your own. Your fall is what comes after. With that one word, the strongest, you condemn everything you built to be torn apart by the very men around your bed. Within days, they are reaching for the pieces. Within a few years, they are at open war with one another, and that war will burn for 40 years across the world you stitched together by foot and by horse. Your generals carve your trillion-dollar empire into rival kingdoms and name themselves kings. Your body itself becomes loot. One of them, Ptolemy, seizes your corpse and carries it off to Egypt as a holy relic, the most valuable object on earth, because to possess the body of Alexander is to claim the right to rule. And your blood? Your unborn son is born into a world that has no place for him. He and his mother Roxana and your own fearsome mother Olympias are all swept away in the wars of the strongest. Within a single generation, your entire line is gone. The dynasty you defended from the cradle, the bloodline of Heracles and Achilles, simply ceases to exist. The gold scatters to the winds, into other men's treasuries, other men's tombs.
Everything you owned, lost. Everything you built, divided. Everyone you loved, erased. And yet, 23 centuries later, the 70 cities are mostly dust. The empire is a memory. The trillion in gold is gone without a trace. But one thing refused to fall. Your name, Alexander the Great. Still spoken, still feared, still studied on the lips of people in lands you never even reached. So here is the question worth leaving you with. Would you take it? A life as a living god, every pleasure, every treasure, 3 continents and the throne of the world, if the price was knowing that everything you built would be torn to pieces the moment you closed your eyes, and only your name would survive.